Welcome to Special Fit. I'm Mike Ramirez. We're starting a new video series for you guys to help you understand the different concepts that we apply in order to work on specific concepts or specific things that you want to help your child with. So today we're going to start off our first series with the concept of self-regulation. What is self-regulation? Self-regulation is basically your ability to monitor your internal state, whether that's your thoughts, your behavior, your energy states, things like that. So whenever we see dysfunction in this area, we will see a lot of different types of things happen, whether it's sensitivities to certain stimuli or different types of behaviors may come about. And so we want to take a moment to kind of break these things down for you. And we're going to start a series where we take one component and we break it down. So self-regulation can be broken down into a lot of different components. The first one that we're going to tackle today is going to be on the concept of interoception and exteroception. Interoception is basically your body's internal state. So how do you monitor things like pain or stomach aches, headaches, things like that, what your viscera is saying to your brain. Exteroception would be how you interpret the stimuli that's originating outside of the body. So how does first the stimulus come through the skin and then down to the viscera and then up to the brain from there. So when we're talking about self-regulation, what's really important to look at is how the body is working with the brain to interpret the stimuli that's coming from the environment, and then how your viscera is interpreting that stimuli and communicating to the brain, and then the brain back down to the body. There's going to be three things that we're going to look at when we talk about this. One is going to be the concept of homeostasis. That is your body basically just seeking balance. So when you look at things like your body temperature, for instance, that is something that your body's always going to react to the environment based on how the weather is, for instance, and always trying to regulate that. So in the summertime, your body will sweat to try to cool the body down. In the wintertime, you're going to shiver to try to get that body temperature up. Allostasis is basically how your body responds to whatever stimulus is happening to try to regain homeostasis. And then the third component is going to be hormesis, which is a favorable response to stress. So why are we talking about this? We're using a way to help your student, your child, gain better signals inside of the body and interpreting the environment as well. So we use exercise as a way to promote some good stress, but also to help them become more resilient in overcoming those stressors. So in this video, you're going to see some demonstrations on how we do this between the walls of the gym. How do we actually take our programming and help your student gain more resilience, increase their sense of self, things like that. That's a brief overview of what you're going to be seeing in the next few clips. So what we're doing here with this particular student is the exercise isn't the most important thing here. The response that we're trying to create is what's important here. This particular student has an issue with inertia and also has issues pushing. So we call this depressive types of behaviors. He has trouble getting going, and he has trouble fighting and getting into a state where he really needs to push. So there's an imbalance in that part of the nervous system. So this exercise here is designed to get him into that response. So in the beginning, he's going to be holding the weight in a isometric contraction of the bicep. And then from there, we have him, every time he hears the key word in the song, he's going to do a bicep curl. But after a certain duration, you'll see that his face changes. And now he's getting into that response that I'm looking for. And then we're trying to get him to push. Something you rarely see in a lot of people, either with autism or the depressive behaviors and things like that. So this is a good way to kind of get that stimulus going and help him get into that fight mode, as we call it. One of the biggest issues that we see with either anxiety or depressive behaviors is that there's this vicious loop between boredom and then getting into anxiety as a call to action, and then back into the depressive behavior. So what we're doing with this student here in this clip is we're again trying to get him into that fight mode, but also trying to get him to push beyond what he thinks are his own limitations, to push his threshold a little bit. Why this is important is that oftentimes people with anxiety have issues with how the brain makes predictions about the environment, seeing things as threats, and typical situations become really hard to deal with and cope with. So this exercise is helping him be more resilient, and although he's on the ground and suffering a bit, afterwards he'll become more resilient to the environment. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 of our self-regulation series.